And now live to tape from the Metropolitan Nashville studios of Scott Christopher, it's another episode of A Man and His Stool. Thank you. Keep your seats. Appreciate you. Hey everybody, it's Scott Christopher, and I am here for another episode, riveting episode of A Man and His Stool for the week ending Sunday, November 3rd, 2024. It is now Monday, November 4th, as we are live to tape from the Nashville metropolitan area. And first off, the title of the show. I've listened to some of the commentary from very sensitive viewers who claim A Man and His Stool. Are you aware what that sounds like? I'm not, evidently. I don't know if it's some medical term. I don't know if it's biological. They've used the word scatological. I don't even bother to look that up. I don't know what that means. All I know is that the title of the show is meant to imply or infer or boldly aver that this show is bare bones. It's a man and his stool. No fanfare, no theme music, no guests, no cutaways, no stand-ups, no live, nothing. I'm going to be me. I'm not going to put some shiny social media sheen over it. It's just me. It's just the straight poop. Nevertheless, I listen to feedback. I honestly respect what people think, so I've changed the title of the show from A Man and His Stool, just to make it more simple, Me and My Stool. There. That should put to rest any question about the intent of the title. Me and My Stool. That's it. It's just me and my stool. How can you misread that? How could that even be considered funny or gross? I guess I need to look through a dictionary. I don't know. The week started really on a high note. I got to see a preview of The Carpenter, directed by my good friend Garrett Batty, a man who has done things like the Saratov Approach, the Angels one, Angels in the Praying with Angels, the Prayer of Angels. Out of Sarajevo, no, out of Africa, out of Freetown. It's out of something. The show is live. And again, there's no bull, no glossy sheen. He's done a lot of, you guys know who, this is Garrett Batty and me. What a fun movie, I gotta say. If you like Christian movies and action, and by the way, even though Garrett is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and is a full blue-blooded Christian, this is not an LDS movie. This is a Christian movie. And even if it were an LDS movie, it would still be a Christian movie. Just so we're all clear on that concept. The Church of Jesus Christ. It's one of very few churches that actually has the cojones to use his name in it. They would be silly to not be followers of Christ. But I digress. Great movie. If you're into action, if you like mixed martial arts and Jesus, it's a fun, wild concept, baked up by a guy out of Texas by the name of Krebs. Can't think of his first name, and his two sons, Krebs and Krebs. And the two sons play brothers in this movie. Here's kind of the smaller version of the theatrical. And this guy here, the one with the pecs, I can't remember his name, Carlin maybe? And then this is his brother, this guy, who, I mean, they look nothing alike. And then this guy over here, as you can see, is Jesus. And that's actually Jeff Dickamore, who's a really fine Latter-day Saint actor. And some of you will recognize Jeff from a role that he plays in a movie that's shown in LDS temples. So you'll get a chance to see Jeff, and he's fantastic. I mean, you know, he talks about how hard it is to play Jesus, and it's like Jesus is everything to everyone, and everyone has their own image and ideal, and he's so personal to each and every one of us. He said, so I just played me. being the best person I could be. And hopefully that came off totally convincing. Great job, Jeff. You've got a twinkle in your eye and love in your heart. The other actors never had, I don't think I'd ever acted in anything before. We come to expect that in our action movies these days to some extent. We give them a little leeway. And I got to tell you, the guy who played the lead, the Krebs boy, both of them, do a fantastic job. There's a few little moments that are kind of wooden, but you know what? It almost actually works for his character. In fact, it does work. But the fight choreography is fantastic. There's no blood in this. As fisticuff violence goes, it's very realistic. But I think like Mama Krebs or one of the women involved said, we don't want any blood. This is not a blood and guts. This is, and I think it got a PG-13 rating, and I think it's because just of the preponderance of bouts and fights that this guy has. I won't tell you the storyline. I won't tell you what happens, obviously, but you should see it. It opened in theaters on Friday last. It's very poetic. And I don't know how it did over the weekend. I hope it did well. I think it was in 100 or more theaters nationwide, maybe way more. I can't remember what Garrett told me. But it should become a Christian classic, a Christian cult. I shouldn't say cult classic. It's not. It's really cool. The whole family can watch it. Honestly, it's good stuff. But and they gave me a goodie bag. And those of you that remember me from my K-Jazz movie guy days back in the early 2000s will know how much I love a good ball cap to wear. And they also gave me a bunch of other stuff I don't have time to go through right now, but it's good. This is my Dove piece, the Carpenter Yeti bottle, and some other things. What else did we do this week? It was Halloween. Got out with the kids and the grandkids. It was a little rainy, but it was fun. Had a good time in a neighborhood nearby here in Hendersonville, where the people do it upright. And they get singing and dancing and music and candy. Jack-o'-lanterns. Nothing new really to report there. It was fun. They don't do Devil's Night here. I remember they did Devil's Night in Michigan where I grew up, especially in the Detroit area, which was the night before Halloween. And you would want to lock up your kids because it was basically just a night for criminal activity. The worst that we ever did was like waxing people's windows or maybe egging a house, TPing. But and maybe nowadays it's calmed down. They don't do it here, which is good. It was actually quite fun. Nothing really to report there. Later on in the week, Liz and I were able to attend a birthday party for a friend of ours here, James. And this is the second year that he's done it at the Listening Room, which is a fantastic venue in Nashville where songwriters come and get to perform their songs. You know, these guys write for all these great country and rock and roll artists. And really, they're good performers in and of themselves. And so 3 different songwriters show up typically on a normal night. You have dinner and drinks and they laugh and joke and they tell the stories of their songs. They play them. We had a lot of fun. The guy on the right there on the end closest to me wrote a bunch of songs for Jelly Roll, if you've heard of Jelly Roll. And I think, was he the one that did a Post Malone one? It might have been the other guy in the end. The one in the middle he's written a lot of great songs and he played a lot of them for us. He just hasn't really clicked with anybody yet. He's kind of an up and comer. But the other guy on the other end, he's written a bunch of stuff for Tracy Wallen. And some of them are very, very, very well-known songs. It was fun to be there and to be with Liz, to get out, to have a good time, to sit up front and just kind of enjoy it. Okay, there's Peppa again. She tends to get in my way. As you can see, this was probably Saturday morning and just trying to enjoy some football. And that little toy there is what she's waiting for me to grab and throw. And then she'll bring it back and play tug of war until I can wrest it from her and throw it again. And she's a very cute little dog, but enough's enough. Speaking of cute little creatures, It was our grandson Harry's final soccer game of the season. Thankfully, these little 4-year-olds only play maybe 15-minute halves. The referees are all 10. They're just the youngest kids. They probably make $5 a game, but they're over within 30 minutes. And this one here is not my grandson, even though he has kind of the curly hair and those goofy glasses, which you'd assume would be mine. It's this one, Harry, the blonde there. That's the boy. A lot of fun. Always fun to be there. That night, Liz and I attended the Blue and White Ball, the BYU Nashville alumni chapter. I've never been invited to any alumni event ever, although I do receive, donation invitations in the mail frequently and the alumni magazine. But it's fun to kind of live away from headquarters and get to know and meet other people that are BYU alumni. And I wish I would have had more of a chance to sit and talk with some of them. But as happens, I met a few, but I think sometimes it's not as easy because, there's dinner and there's a show. In fact, they had, the dinner was really good, by the way. And it was at an Embassy Suites. I was surprised. It was actually pretty good. They had entertainment. These two are the Truman brothers. They are the sons of Dan Truman of Diamond Rio. Dan Truman was one of the writers and performers and the main pianist for Diamond Rio for many years, and probably still is. I don't know. But he was actually, at least for a time, his family lived in Orem, Utah, and his younger brother and sister both went to Mountain View High School with me. I mean, they didn't go with me. We weren't even on the same bus. We didn't stop and pick them up. I didn't even really like them. No, that's not true. See, I said I was going to tell the truth, and the truth is Gina Truman was a very good friend, very fun, sweet, cool girl, and her younger brother, Boyd, I actually got along with pretty well, too. He had a great sense of humor. But anyway, so these two guys' aunt and uncle. Their dad is Dan. But these two performed. They record and perform and tour, and they're giving it a shot. They were raised right here in Hendersonville when their dad was busy with Diamond Rio. If you don't know Diamond Rio, you got to listen to them. It was a country band. It still is, I suppose. But when I worked in country radio 30 years ago, doing a morning show in Salt Lake City, hated country music, but it was a job. But it was groups like Diamond Rio and Little Texas and Sawyer Brown and, Brooks and Dunn and some of these other ones that made me go, good music is good music is good music. And so these boys, who clearly are now men with families of their own, are following in that tradition and make great music. Yeah, we had fun there. The one difficult thing was the organizers asked me before if I wouldn't mind participating in the silent auction. And at first they said, maybe you could sign a copy of the Best 2 Years DVD. And I said, what's a DVD? Like, is anyone actually going to purchase a DVD, even if I sign it? Especially if I sign it? I can't imagine. This whole ball, the whole Alumni Association, its main purpose is to raise funds for grants to help local area kids that want to go back to BYU Provo or BYU Idaho or BYU Hawaii, or even, I think, Ensign College, go. And so they get together, and every year annually they raise money for scholarships or grants. And so I thought, a signed DVD isn't likely to raise much money. I said, why don't we try something different? Because it might be kind of fun if we sold just me coming to someone's house and bothering them, like having me over for dinner, and I could regale them with stories of my illustrious career. And they said, what about a game night or something? I can't remember, but went back and forth. I said, maybe a movie night where we watch the Best 2 Years or Mobsters and Mormons or some Granite Flats episodes or whatever. And I can pause and tell them stories about, that would be kind of fun. They went with game night. I think if you look up closely, you can see that at least someone did buy it. But again, because this is a no bull crap show, it's the straight poop here, me and my stool. I'm pretty sure the organizer's wife actually was the one who bought this so as to not make me feel bad. I told them I won't feel bad at all if nobody bids. I can't imagine anyone bidding. But there were 4 bids, and the winning bid was $120. So $120 to help some kid be a future cougar. But some poor family has to put up with me invading their home soon. Let's get that over with quickly. A Marvelous Work is, if any of you have seen this, we did 6 episodes this year. We were scheduled to do 12. The war in the Middle East really messed things up. And also, the sponsoring organization has decided, in spite of the show delivering everything that they originally asked for, including viewership, a fan base, and most importantly, measurable, though anecdotal, impact on the target audience. They have decided that it just doesn't fit their brand, which, hey, more power to them. If it's my organization, I would, and I knew your mission of whatever it is you're trying to do, I can't begrudge that. So there's no ill will or bitterness or sour grapes. It's just, okay, you're not going to do it, but we still want to do this. There's still so much more to be done. We barely scratched the surface. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google A Marvelous Work YouTube or something like that, and probably this picture or something like it with my face will come up. Watch an episode or two. Currently, this show is with the VidAngel people. So if you're like a VidAngel member or a voter and you liked it, you should upvote it or say yes. Because, again, the straight poop here is that it's past a certain hurdle within the voting of the VidAngel community. But within that community of Christians, again, of Christians, there are many Christians who absolutely unequivocally do not want a show about the Book of Mormon to be on this platform. Many of them are very vocal about how no way in H is a Mormon show going to be on this platform. Understood. And I get that even more than the decision to let A Marvelous Work go from its original platform. Because you're right. This is a program about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's not a debate about whether it's a Christian church or not, although many of the people, for them, that is the debate. I think we've put that to rest with the 200 plus year history of our people and our considerable history of bearing fruit. By their fruits ye shall know them, which is from, of course, the New Testament. The fruits that this organization, this Christian organization, anyway, yeah, it don't get me going. I'm not going to be on a soapbox here. But anyway, if you happen to know of anybody who's a voter or electorate, and you want it on there, then by all means, please hit yes. But apparently it's struggling right now just because there's a lot of other Christians who don't want it. That being the case, we don't want it there either if it's not going to be enjoyed and embraced by at least a lot of people who will be touched, impacted, and or affected by it. We're not making this program to line our pockets. No one is in this field. They do it because of a sense of mission and duty to take their talents and do something to spread the word. But money, it takes money to do it. It's not free to fly to these places. It's not free to do all the production, and we all have to pay our bills. So If you know of anybody who loves this program and would like to see it continue, for heaven's sakes, DM me and or have them DM me, because we're looking for people who can back this show, and we'll put it somewhere else, So that's cool. So speaking of not that, almost done here. Big week ahead of us. Blue versus red, and you know what I'm talking about. Of course, the U.S. election. Demos versus repubs, for both the presidency, as well as many seats in the Senate and House, up for grabs, baby. So tomorrow's election day. Go do your duty. That is best. Leave unto the Lord the rest. No fear, no anxiety. Whoever wins, wins. Let's pray for a peaceful transfer of power, or if not a transfer of power, a peaceful acceptance of loss. If you lose, that's democracy. The people don't want you. Even if it's by 5 votes, you lose. But life will go on. It's not the end of the world. Regardless of who's in power, it's not yet over. It's just not. Now, for the rest of us who are more interested in this red and blue holy war, life may be over. If BYU happens to lose this, there just will be no end to the taunts and the jeers from the Philistines up north. Now, I live in Tennessee now, so that's Kentucky. So I guess I can't really make that comparison, but you know who I mean, the Ute fans. And since I've moved away, it's interesting, since I'm not in the hotbed of BYU versus Utah, I don't live there along the corridor of contempt any longer. I find that when I happen to turn over to a Ute game on TV, I still hate them just as much. Geography hasn't changed. All in good fun. My best friend. Now that is hyperbole and a huge exaggeration. A former missionary companion is the president of the Utes, of the University of Utah. Taylor Randall and I were companions. So I can't say my best friend. Though we are friends, but anyway. So, I mean, and some of my very close friends are Ute fans, so I don't actually hate them. I just hate their teams. No, I don't. I don't hate. Hate is not in my vocabulary. I hate evangelicals, but I don't hate the Utes. I'm kidding. That's also kind of a joke. But I would say my prediction is that the BYU will win this game. And it's the first time in ever, I think I've ever actually said that about BYU going to Rice Eccles and facing especially a Ute team that has lost 4 in a row, that has bowl game implications, salvaging a season, pride on the line. Normally, I would say this is a perfect setup for an absolute BYU loss, even if it's by 1 point or 3. The old 31-28 or 34-31, whatever that old score line was. But I'm going to change course this year, and I think many of you, you should do the same. And that is just agree with the national people, agree with the line, agree with the pundits who aren't heavily invested emotionally in this rivalry, who just look at the teams and they go, BYU is number 9 in the nation. They're undefeated. They've beaten some good teams on the road. They're a good football team, maybe even a great football team in the context of BYU history. It remains to be seen if they're a great football team for the entire season of 2024 in college football. But let me tell you something. If these guys manage to get past this weekend where they are favored, they should be able to win out. The Utes, unfortunately, I think are not expected to win any of their final 4 games, including this one. They could have started 4-0 and finish 4-8. it's not going to break my heart. But I am a human, and it's like, that kind of sucks for you. But hey, last year we were 5-7, and I don't remember anybody crying tears for us. But go Cougs. I think they'll win this by 2 touchdowns. I don't think it will be that hard. At least I'm going to buy into what I've seen. I think they deserve their number 9 ranking. I think they'll deserve to be. We'll also find out on Tuesday where they're ranked in the college football playoffs. If they manage to go to the Big 12 title game and win, which there's no reason why they wouldn't, they would be 13-0 before they even play any bowl games, in parentheses. They could play 1, 2, or possibly 3 more, right? Isn't that how the playoffs work? I think, if they eventually win, they could end up playing and possibly winning 16 games. If I'm doing my math right, 15 or 16. Crazy. And by the way, tomorrow night also is the beginning of the BYU basketball season. And my best friend's son is Richie Saunders. Well, Rich Saunders isn't my best friend, but we are good friends. And his son was my son John's age, and they were friends for a while in school, junior high, elementary school. And then Richie's just a freaking stud. But anyway, we love him. So that's that. That'll be that. And that is the end of that. Hopefully you've enjoyed this particular episode of the newly titled Me and My Stool. Let me just get my finger over the stop button so that I can stop at an appropriate